Welcome back to the podcast. And I'm so excited. Friend of the show is here. One of my good friends, Josh Noffke, and he's a business attorney and the founder of Noffke Law and Brass Tax AI. He works with law firms and professional service organizations to design practical AI systems that improve profitability, which is, key to my heart, streamline legal workflows, and help firms adopt AI safely and strategically, which I love all of that as well. And Josh focuses on the intersection of law, operations, and emerging technology, advising firm leaders on how to turn AI from curiosity into a competitive advantage. Welcome to your Profitable Law Firm podcast. I'm Kelley Brubaker, your dedicated host, passionate about empowering law firm owners. Let's dive into the hidden strategies that lead to overflowing profits, scaled growth, and thriving lives. And this is where overwhelm transforms into confidence, enabling you to create and enjoy your dream firm and your dream life. Josh, I'm so excited that you're back. You were here last year. We've already been talking for almost an hour. This is great. I feel like we could just talk for hours, but we said, nope, let's hit record. And so, welcome back to the podcast. I'm just excited to have you here.
Kelley, I appreciate you. Thanks for having me back on. I always love how direct you are and how you deliver value in every single episode that you do. I've learned a ton from watching your episodes, just in terms of how to run my law firm, and the way that you give to the community is especially cool. So appreciate being back and happy to be here. Let's dive in. Let's go.
So this is so fun. And I love how you support the community as well, because not only are you an attorney and you've got your firm going, but I love the AI stuff. And I know there's still so many attorneys that are resistant. Well, we still have attorneys resistant to technology in reality, right? But to add on the AI, and I was so excited. I actually thought of you a couple of weeks ago. I saw, and now I don't remember who it was, but there's a university that just announced that a law school that next fall they're going to start in their law program. They're adding a course specific to AI tools in the legal industry. And I can't believe I saved it and I couldn't find it. I looked before we jumped on our call and I'm like, man, I wanted to see who it was, but I can't remember now who it was. But I'm just excited that law schools are like, who would have thought law schools would actually consider changing their curriculum? Amazing. I love it. And so I'm just excited about AI, and we've had a great conversation already, and like we're both on a similar page when it comes to AI stuff. So so this was so funny. So we booked this episode to record, and because Josh is a friend, I didn't even ask. Normally when somebody books a podcast episode, I'm like, okay, what are we going to talk about? Or I ask, can you talk about this? But I'm like, no, you have an open invitation and that's just forever. Whenever you want to book, you've got my link, book it. And so we jumped on and I'm like, so what are we going to talk about? And he's like, oh, I'm going to interview you today.
I know. We're going to get some good stuff that people want to know about the financial realities of the law firm up here. Let's go.
Absolutely. So we're going to transition. I'm not the host today. So podcast host Josh is going to take the call or take the episode over today.
You got it. I am very excited to have my guest Kelley here. No, I'm joking. I am truly interested because I came from the background that I did. I worked for another law firm all throughout law school. And then I came out and I realized big law wasn't for me, one reason or another. Different story for a different time. I realized I was going to be doing my own thing, things I did not know about running law firms. So many mausoleums and, the vast spaces and all these things. And one of the biggest things, and I feel like so many other lawyers are in this, and I say it's trap, it's not a trap, but it felt like a trap originally. So many people are in this zeitgeist of not knowing how to run it like a business. And if it's not business first, and again, the ethics and the morals and why you get into law kind of betray you on that, hey, making the money part. And so, I can't help but feel that contributes to the stress of our profession and your profession, and does some interesting things there. But I also think too, people make it way more complicated than it is. So with some transparency, with some systems, and that's really everything I look at in either my law practice or my consulting practice is systems win, right?
Yeah.
You are literally in charge of building a set of systems that create value. That is the
Yeah.
goal of a business. That's the personal MBA from, I forget who wrote, great books, recommended it. I think his name was Josh too. Good name, Solomon. Um,
I think
but yeah,
you're lying. You're just saying that.
I
But his name
think his
is,
name was Josh. I might be wrong. I may be wrong.
I
Uh,
don't know.
I I think one of the first things I want to ask you actually is from the financial side of law firms, what's one of the biggest inefficiencies you see at outliers that can make money or don't make money? That's one of
Oh,
the first questions I had from you.
so I think my answer would depend on if it's contingent billing versus flat fee or hourly, because there's a different answer for contingent. I sometimes feel bad because a lot of times I default to billing hourly, like talking about a firm that bills hourly,
Mhm.
because that seems to be the common, it's still prevalent in the industry, which
Very.
makes me sad, right? It makes me very, very sad. So contingent's a little bit, we're going to push that off to the side, but I think the biggest thing I see is if you're going to bill by the hour, then you need to track your time. And I know it sucks. It sucks, sucks, sucks. I can't even
It's
speak
the
on that.
worst. It's the worst.
And and you can probably speak better to this, but I mean, there's tools now that help you track your time,
Still
right?
sucks. Still
And so
sucks. Great tools.
but even I even caution those who do flat fees, you still have to track time to some
You
extent.
do.
Now you can do it a little different, but because just because, so say somebody's doing trademarks and they're like, oh, I just offer $2,000 to file a trademark. Well, how did you come up with that? Oh, well, that's what my competitors are doing. Well, okay, but you don't know if they're profitable. So for me, it's, to be profitable, if you're billing hourly, right, you've got to capture your time so you bill it. And I see too many, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head with this. Our professions are very similar and we have all of this knowledge and expertise, and you feel guilty because you're like, why did that just take me 2 hours to draft whatever it is? I mean, I'll do it. I'll sit down, I'll work on some type of a spreadsheet. And I'm like, I just spent 2 hours on this. What was I doing? Oh, I was thinking that I was actually working on. I wasn't doing 20 other things. I was focused on this one thing and it legit took me 2 hours. I need to bill that. I mean, the big joke locally around here. So I live in a really small town in Ohio, and I'm very involved in the school and in my town. And people who meet me for the first time, they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a CFO for law firms. And I get this look and they're like, why? And I'm like, well, because I help them make more money. And it's usually, well, but attorneys are driving, Mercedes and, really expensive cars, live in mansions. And I'm like, well, I don't know what attorneys you know,
Mhm.
but the attorneys I know, um, you know, some of them are very well off, but very humble. And, it's not about having the money. It's that people have a perception that, and some of it's perpetrated, right? Like, yes, I drive the Mercedes. Like I had a CPA in my town that drives this. Well, this is years ago. I don't even know if he's around anymore, but he drove a Mercedes, and I was just like, what a snob. But then I met him and I'm like, oh you're actually a really nice guy. I had this perception because you drive this car and I always saw you in town with a suit on. And it was, different reality. But that's what I think a lot of the public they don't understand either, where they're like, oh my gosh, I have an attorney for whatever, like I'm divorced and I hired an attorney for that. Right. And, so what, I don't know if it was 300, 350 an hour or whatever it was. Yes, I'm
Expensive.
grumbling that yeah,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
expensive, and I just remember I grumbled every time I wrote the check, but then I kept thinking I would have never done this on my own, and it would have dragged on for years, and nothing would, like, I'd probably still be married legally, not practically, but, there's a reason why I had to pay that to get through what I needed to get through. And so I will tell people like, "Hey, just because you hired an attorney and they charge you 500 bucks an hour, that might have been the only hour they billed that entire day. And they might have worked 10 hours, because what you're not seeing is they have to, train their staff or manage their staff. They have an office rent to pay. They have malpractice insurance. They have all the library. Oh my God, the library alone is like, holy crap. Whether you're buying actual books or online, Thomson Reuters, Westlaw or whatever, holy
Mhm.
crap, it's just so expensive. So $500 in one day, that's not profitable at all. And
No,
so it comes back to, you've got to
no,
be like, you're billing by the hour. You have to make sure you're capturing every tenth of a minute or of an hour so that you're getting that billed. And then it's how fast can you get the bills out the door? I mean, I've seen firms that the work is good, they capture time decently, but then they take 5 weeks to bill. And you're like, and I'm like, oh my gosh, you just spent, you did work 5 weeks ago. You're just now billing it today. And then it's going to take the client 4 weeks to pay you. That's over 2 months of time.
I feel
What are we
personally
doing?
called out right now. Just gonna say, I'm definitely not in the
He's a
habit of
bad guy.
this.
Oh, he's a
Yeah,
bad podcast guest. And no, I mean, it sucks. I get it. And I did the same thing. Trust me. And here's what I would do. I'll tell you, I'll make this personal for me. What I used to do. So when I first started my firm, hourly billing, because I'm like, I don't know any
okay.
different,
What
right?
else are you gonna do?
It's hard. What else am I going to do? So I would do hourly. I sucked at tracking time. I'd get to the end of the week and I had people working for me. And I'm like, guys, we need our time tickets in, do your time sheets. And then they're sitting there on Friday afternoon and, oh, I think I worked on, and I'm like, no, this
Mhm.
really sucks. And so you have to then go from memory if you're not capturing time in real time, like on your time
You're
sheet.
losing money unequivocally.
You're losing money, right?
100%. You are losing
Right.
money.
And then I would get uncomfortable because I'd go to do a bill to a client. I'm like, there's no way that took 2 hours. And so then I would write it down and I'm like,
And
oh,
get
I'm only going to
yourself
bill them an hour and a quarter.
now you're making less money than you otherwise would have made on top of that.
I
Yep.
mean, I did all of it, trust me. And then even when I did, when I jumped into fixed rate fees. So I do, so, and this is, I'd only do now, the way my practice set up now, I only bill hourly if it's a special project that I have no way going into it, how to know how much, like trust cleanup. It could be an hour, it could be
Yeah.
20 hours. I have no idea until I get into it. So I just can't, like, it's not fair to either one of us for me to just quote a flat fee on that. But any other work I do is, here's a rate. So whether it's bookkeeping or CFO work, I know what it is. We're good. There's going to be some months I work more than my budget. Other months are going to be less. It just all works out. But I still have to keep track of, how much time am I actually working on certain clients because I need to validate that my fee is still profitable because at the end of the day, if I'm not profitable, I'm not sustainable. I'm not going to stay. So so it really comes back to, so even if you're doing flat fees, the big thing is you don't know what your competitor's overhead is or what their situation is. Because what if they only make, $100, so, I think my example was trademark for 2000. What if their profit's only $100 on that, but they're doing, 20 times the volume that you do? That's a huge difference. So for you to make $100 profit versus they're making, $20, two grand because they have the volume, there's a difference. And you don't know all that. Even if they're your friend and you went to college with them and you have some inside knowledge, you still don't have inside knowledge. You don't
You're really
know.
calling me out really
Or
hard right now. I'm feeling personally attacked. It's okay. I'll get over it. I'll get over it. It's fine.
what you went, this
Just
is
say
advice from last night at the bar. They're like,
I had
oh,
I
this was so
I've been through a
easy.
couple of those. No question. No question. And if there's a lawyer in your life, and for all the lawyers who are listening to this, they're gonna know, and accountants too. Because I'm sure you get questions all the time. Hey, what did I be investing in? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Whatever. Um,
Right.
I get questions all the time. Well, what would you do in this, criminal law scenario? Hell, if I have no clue, man. You were talking about wrong deer. Well, you took the
Right.
bar, didn't you? Yeah, a million years ago. What do you want?
At least if anybody ever asked me, I'm like, oh, that's practicing law without a license. You don't even have the license.
I wish more people in your position took that, because there are a
Right.
lot of
Oh,
people in your
no.
profession that
Yeah.
just say, "Oh, I can do that for you. I can
Right.
give you an operating agreement." I've run into a ton of accountants
Right.
who are doing,
Right.
which is,
So,
why would you do that?
okay. So now I'm called out. So I didn't do that part, but I had, so back when I first started my firm, I had this slew of clients that were like, trying to open a business. And I'm like, oh, well, I did mine. Well, okay. When I opened my firm, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know any attorneys at the time. So I just went on, the internet and just, whoever the first one for, $500
Yep.
and then I could, break it backwards and say, oh, I needed this, this, and this, and that's done. And
And
over
that's
the years,
AI
I've
now.
realized,
And
and
that's
that's
AI.
AI
Yeah.
now, right? And then I realize now that there were things, if I would have hired a local attorney, could have probably paid maybe $100 more and gotten more, better service, right? So, so I used to go and I'm like, okay, if you want to start a company, I know, and I never said I'll do your operating agreement. I would just say, hey, you need to have an operating agreement or partnership agreement, whatever that structure was. But,
Smart
I would help,
advice.
get your tax ID, get your, file with the state. And I did maybe like 5 of those. And then I got to where that's when I met an attorney and then he was like, what are you doing?
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm just helping. They're like, no, I would not do that if I were you. So that was the end of that short-lived, uh, but I definitely did not do I'm like, don't even ask me about an operating agreement. I just know. And of course, you always had the solo, the single owned companies. I don't need a stinking operating agreement. I'll be fine. But I'm not going to force you. That's fine if that's what you believe.
Well, and they might be fine. I had someone come to me one
Right.
time and they said, hey, I've been operating for 40 years. I've had an operating agreement. You're telling me you need to pay X to get an operating agreement. F you.
Right.
Like, okay, track record, fine. Right. You might get the next year and you'll be screwed, but I can't argue the 40 years. You got it. And I can bless you. Right.
Yeah. Well, you can't help everybody, which was a hard
Right.
lesson for me to learn.
Right.
Right?
Our
Oh,
lesson for every professional to learn. You
yeah.
cannot help everybody. That's what we're charged
Cannot
to
help
do.
everybody.
That's why we chose what we do. And when you can't, or when you can, and I think that's even a tougher position when you can help, you can help them
Yeah.
relatively easily based off the systems you've built, but they're not able to pay. Saying no is a certain chunk out of my heart every time because
Oh, it is.
I'm very empathetic. You're very empathetic. You want to help
Absolutely.
these people, right?
Yeah.
And when you can't, because it's, you can't trade your time for nothing.
Yeah.
Right. That sucks. That's one of the
It
worst
does.
parts about being in our professions for sure.
It is. I mean, it's hard because I mean, I'm definitely uncomfortable saying no. And it's only been,
Likewise.
I'm very uncomfortable with it. And I just find, and most times it's because I know I can help, but I'm sitting
Mhm.
here thinking, okay, but if I help you, and usually it's volunteer stuff where I'll have people locally or that are like, hey, I have this nonprofit, you're a CPA. And I'm like, nope, because I did it. I was the treasurer of a couple nonprofits and it was so much work. And then my hands are tied because
I
the
am sure it
nonprofit,
was. I'm sure
there's
it
all
was.
these there's all these rules. Well, I was the treasurer of our PTA at school and it sucked. It was the worst year. It was last year. Every check had to have I actually had to write checks. I had to hand write checks, which I'm like, I have not handwritten a check in probably a decade.
What
But
is
I had
this?
a
Is this
handwrite check.
2004? What are we doing here?
Exactly. And then we had a rule because somebody, years ago had stolen money from the PTA. So we had a rule that every check had to have 2 signatures. So every time I wrote a check, thank God one of the officers lives a mile away from me. And
I
I'm like,
mean,
people. Oh, it was just too much. And I'm like, this is just crazy. And and I do agree you have to have controls in your business. Now it's different when you're like it's you and you don't have a bookkeeper, you don't have anybody like no staff. Okay, you're your own control because you're just going to screw yourself. Like if you're going to steal, like why would you steal from yourself, right? But when you start to add, and now I have a bookkeeper, and and I've told people over the years, I'm like, I mean, I do a whole series on YouTube every Friday. I release a video about fraud and embezzlement in law firms because what
let's see the
happens, you delegate too much, right? And so before you know it, somebody's, oh, I'm going to add, an extra vendor. So instead of, Walmart with that without a hyphen, I'm going to go in and put Wall hyphen Mart as a vendor. And then I'm just going to write some checks. And oh, by the way, it's going to be a PO box that I own. So, like
that's a real
14 cats. That is a real thing. Oh yeah.
people, and people
I
think they're
never
going to outsmart the Really?
Yes. Oh, yeah, big time.
I've
It's
got some things going
crazy,
through my head that I could say I want to keep this a family program, but
right?
that's
It's
insane. That's
It's absolutely
insane.
insane. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't think people are nefarious intentionally. I think it's, "Oh my god, I have this huge medical bill. I have my car broke down. I need, 3 grand to get it fixed. I don't have it, and I can't get to work, which is gonna make it worse because then I can't make money at all." And so I think it's little things that kind of push you, like, all of a sudden they become catastrophic, and then you feel like, "Well, this person, I work at a law firm or I work at any business and they have $100,000 in the bank account and they're not paying attention. I'll pay it back." I think that's how a lot of it starts is I'll pay it
For
back. I'm
sure.
only borrowing it and they won't even miss it. And then it just gets out of control. Like it just spins. I mean, it's crazy what I've seen. I mean, I've been very, very fortunate. I've only ever once had fraud at a client, but and that was a whole weird situation. And it was just random that we caught it. And but other than that, I've read so many stories. And when I do my Fraud Friday video, I call them Fraud Friday. I think I call them officially
Love
they're like,
that.
right? Fraud Friday.
Love Fraud Friday.
Yeah.
You should hire me to trademark it for you for sure.
I get them, yeah, but I get my stories from actual court cases. I mean, because I don't know these people, right?
Yeah,
And
of course.
so I just go and but you'll be proud. I use AI for that. I'll go into my thing is chat and I'll say, "Hey, what are, some court cases that have been finalized in the last, year or, in law firms in the US and then, give me 10 cases." And I did have once where it hallucinated and so what happens is
Just
I
kind
have
of
to
I was just
list.
gonna ask. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
god. Oh, this was so bad. And luckily I caught it because my process is, I don't trust what it comes, and it's funny because this whole series, my last line is usually when I close my videos, it's something like, trust but verify. So
That's right.
so I do. So I get this list. Chat GPT will give me this list and it'll say, here's 10 cases that have, closed in your criteria or whatever. And so I then start to research because I'll look for, is there, an attorney general filing? Is there a Department of Justice? Like, is there, can I get the actual court filing if it went to court and, or did it settle and it was published in a news article? I try to go through and research because I validate, I do a journalist job. So I go through and just try to validate all the stuff. And I had where it gave me 5 people, fake names. Yeah, I know, fake names, fake cases, but it even had told me, like, it gave me a little synopsis and it was like the Department of Justice released on this day a press release, and I go and look and I can't find it,
Never
and I'm
existed
like,
yet. Yep.
"Never existed," but it was very confident in the answer, and oh man, what are you doing to me? But that's I mean, so
You hit on such an important part of using AI, especially as attorneys, as
yeah.
accountants, as professionals. You have to vet. You have to vet. One, ABA 512, which is the preeminent guidance on, the national conversation. States are coming out, relatively frequently now. I think there's over 40, 45, um, active ethical guidance just for lawyers. And Mark Palmer, I think, has a list from Illinois. And he's a good follow, for sure, and a good dude. And he's from the Illinois bar, and he does a bunch of great stuff for this. Um, but when you come to the ethics of AI, you really have to realize it's a predictive machine, and it's
Yeah,
trying to predict an answer that's going to make you as the user happy. You got to
right.
realize all of these AI companies are businesses that are trying to
Yeah,
make money. You're going to pay more money if it backs you up. South Park has a great episode about this, about where Andy trying for integrity his wheat farm into this tech conglomerate, yada yada,
right.
and you know, ChatGPT is portrayed as just sick pen,
Yeah.
which is great, and that's kind of how it starts. But learning, and especially for lawyers and accountants, learning to control it and maneuver those outcomes is really where some of the magic happens. So it's
No, absolutely.
interesting to hear. It's interesting to hear some of your concepts and stories with AI, and knowing that even as as a law firm adjacent, we serve
Mhm.
the legal
Yeah.
industry, you still have to do some of the same stuff that most lawyers have
Oh,
to do,
yeah.
whether they know
Yeah.
it or not. So, I mean, it's a great tip. That's a great, you always have to understand that AI, unless instructed differently and unless verified, is going to give you whatever you want out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think of those, call them over, uh, overzealous sport parents, the ones who get into a fight at a 8-year-old hockey game.
Yeah.
And I am that type of competitive, by the way. Like I would be that dude, except for that I realized it's an 8-year-old fucking hockey game.
Right.
Right?
Right.
An 8-year-old hockey game, and
Right.
chill out, dude. Like we're not
Yeah.
talking about the NHL. There's not millions of dollars on
Yeah.
this. Hang out. It's the hallucination is a big deal, and I think that's probably one of the biggest fears of the legal profession too is, hey, I don't want to wind up. And
I
so,
know.
now the analysis becomes, okay, and how do I prevent a headline while still using this technology that I'm theoretically, obliged to use under ABA Formula Opinion 512. You have to be competent, right? And anyone serving the legal industry has to understand these factions, right? Do you have to be able
Yeah.
to implement necessarily? No. Do you have to be able to understand the technology, why it's right for you, why it's not right for you, and then
Yeah.
explain it to your clients? In my opinion, yeah, you do, and that
Yeah.
takes a lot of different forms. That actually is a fantastic segue into my next question.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry. And I did not know any of these questions in advance.
that is true. Yeah, I gave you no warning, like a complete asshole. Um,
Yeah. Totally.
w- One of the things I'm curious from you and your perspective is one, and I guess it's a multi-part question, so feel free to take it wherever you want. How
Okay.
capable is, and do you see law firm owners underestimating how quickly AI will change your staffing? 'Cause this is a thing.
Oh,
This is something I
yeah.
talk to lawyers about a lot. Hey, AI is going to replace X, Y, and Z. And like you've already alluded to on this podcast, and like I tell every client, I love this joke because I'm a dad and I love the bad dad jokes. But the answer is always it depends, right?
Mhm.
And that's the worst lawyer answer you can give, but it's also 100% true. It totally
Yeah.
depends on the
Right.
context. And that's another thing I'll say. Everything I always tell anyone I'm coaching or working with or consulting with is, hey, context is king, right?
Oh,
So
absolutely.
based off the context you give your AI or what you need out of AI will totally determine how you're going to use it. So your question, and then I promise I'll show you. Um, do you see lawyers underestimating how AI will change their staffing model? And where do you think lawyers get the staffing model component wrong when they're integrating AI? Multi-layered question. And we can break it down and I'll ask you parts if you want.
Okay. So I think part of it, so that I feel like the industry as a whole, and I'm not talking about everybody, but I think most attorneys are skeptical of AI, which I get. I understand that.
100%. Yes.
But where I fear is the overpromising by the AI companies. So you've got the salespeople who are like, "Oh, you don't need an intake person anymore. It'll do all of it." I mean, I don't believe that, right?
I agree.
But what I think how I want things to happen and how I see things happening, it's you say, "Okay, I'm gonna adopt this tool," and it's going. So, for example, if you're a PI practice and you need medical records, there's now, there's AI tools that can help you get that done faster. And I love that part. I want things to be done faster. I want the low end work, the no value work. I want that to be done by AI, right? Because then I want to be able to take the people you have and teach them to do other stuff.
That's
Because
right.
what I see often,
Elevate.
yeah,
Let's go.
elevate. It's all about the elevate. So what I think those who do adopt AI, I think some of them, they buy into the sales pitch thinking, oh, you just flip a switch. And now and this isn't even specific to AI. I've seen this going on for years. People think, oh, I get this tool, I get my case management system, and I'm just going to flip a switch and everything's going to be wonderful again. And it's not. it takes time. You have to take time. You have to set the system up correctly. Same thing with AI. You have to set it up correctly. You have to do testing. How does it work? Is it working correctly? You have to validate what it's doing. Is it even
Which
running how you think it should be?
we're not trained to do this in school. So
I know.
where do we
I
learn?
wasn't either. I
Yeah.
wasn't either.
Oh yeah, you weren't. No, you weren't.
No.
Fair enough.
I mean, and I'll admit, I mean, I've done this, where I've had, a sales pitch that, somebody's trying to sell me something and I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And it's going to
Been
save me
there.
so much time. And then it turns out that it's just not. I mean, I don't
Especially
know.
being
I mean,
raised by a good salesperson. It's
I-
one it's happened to me for sure. I
yeah,
loathe it. I loathe it now. I probably come off a little bit aggressive to most people
yeah,
coming to me trying to sell me
I do
shit.
too now. I do now.
Because it's one of those like, hey, what's your ROI?
Yeah, right.
Like, what are we doing here?
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I need a real tangible thing, but what I see actually happening is those who do adopt and they do great planning, train staff how to use whatever tool they're adding into the mix. It's not all of a sudden you went from flip the switch on, it's running, and now all of a sudden you can cut one person, like one full-time It's not, I don't see that happening.
It's
What
not
I've seen is
transactional like that. Yeah.
exactly. It's not a go, this happens and this, this is your outcome immediately. It's not like that. It's that all of a sudden your paralegal is like, oh my gosh, it's 4 o'clock. What am I doing for the rest of the day? For that 1 hour, the rest of the day.
Mhm.
And then you're like, oh, can you help me with this? Can what if I teach you to do something a little bit different? And then, so I'm a very big proponent about elevating. And so I want to be able to, what can you do to bring AI into your firm that it gets those no value tasks? I mean, we were talking before we started recording. A big thing for me right now, I have almost 3,000 files in my download folder, and I need to I need to get them renamed because at this point, some of them are just gibberish names, and I'm like, I don't even know what that is. But it would be great to be able to have them all renamed into something meaningful, and it would be awesome if it could put them into folders. But I don't need 3,000 files in my download folder, but I don't know what to throw away, and but that's no value to me. It's really no value that they're sitting there, but yet it would be great if I could get them filed. So there is some value to it, but I'm not going to pay somebody $20 an hour to sit, right, and do all that.
How much
So,
person to take that? I mean, you're
um,
saving $1,000 plus to get them into
right,
something that may or may not be your zeitgeist, right?
exactly.
And
So I mean, I'm not
this is
that.
where AI is
Yeah,
totally and can do some of this stuff for you. And
yeah,
and this is where I love introducing people to ecosystems. And
right.
that's really what I used to build as a law firm. So people that are close to me, Jared's probably rolling his eyes if he's listening to this. Um, but I talk
Cool.
about this you have to build. It's
Okay.
a system. You have to build a system for your AI to operate in. It's not
Yeah,
going to come in a vacuum. Now it can. You can come in and say, "Hey, ChatGPT, give me X, Y, and Z." Fine, but you're only uncovering 2 to 5% of the value that the AI can bring you if you take the time to delineate your systems and put them out. Just that, giving it to AI and saying, "Hey, how can you help me in this endeavor? How can you set
yeah,
me up to be able to do these things that I need to do?" Will get you, another 20%, just like that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's that, but like I said, yeah, I see firms and I'm excited when they introduce new tools, and there's always going to be more work to prep to get things going. But yeah, there's not an instant all of a sudden somebody has no work to do for a whole day. I mean,
Yeah.
it just
Never.
happens over, and where I see it, it's um when I see a firm going from doing their books on a spreadsheet to doing something in QuickBooks or some other bookkeeping system, you now have less data entry time, you have less research time. And so all of a sudden you're like, oh, you mean it took me, I mean, I talked to somebody who went from billing, like typing bills on Word, like had a secretary. That's what she did. Types them in Word. installed a case management system. We had the bills done. I worked through them the first run, and I mean, we had the first bills out in like 8 hours. And this is something that would take a whole week because it was somebody literally sitting and typing, like research, figure out, like adding up all the hours, typing into Word. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we just got that done. So now we did free up, 4 days a week, but now that person was backlogged on filing, backlogged on all this other stuff. And now all that can get done. So, I mean, I want things to be more efficient. And mostly it's because if you can do something more efficient, I'm hoping you keep your staff and that you can take on more work because, I fear when I see the articles coming out now about big law laying, massive layoffs and they're blaming AI, me being naive,
Oh, they call it
right.
faking AI because their profits go higher. Let's just call it what it is. I'm happy to call them out.
I know. And and I started my career in Big Four, which is comparable to Big Law. And, I have felt like we always had this big, massive funnel of potential work that we could bid on all the time. And so where I'm sad when I see Big Law laying off is in my mind, they should have this funnel of work that they've been turning down because they didn't have capacity. And now we just freed up
Great.
capacity can get by and they should just take on the new work. And that just fills all the people's plates that just got freed up with AI. But that apparently that's not happening. Or maybe it is. And there's the whole public, obviously we have no inside knowledge. So maybe that is what's happening to some extent, but they're keeping it, they want to like oust the AI. They want to make it seem like, we're doing all this and AI is the savior and we're going to be more profitable. And I mean, I don't know, but I do think
to their shareholders, that's an attractive proposition, right?
I know.
So okay, who are you serving? What are your
Right.
incentives? And that's the first question I ask anyone that comes to me for legal or for AI. Hey, what, who are you trying to serve? What do you want to accomplish? Depending on your KPIs, I'll tell you, exactly what that's with AI or
Right.
or whatever it is, or accounting for your example. So it's that's interesting.
No, and that's a good point. It is who do you serve? What is your, who do you serve and what are your goals? I will ask clients, what is your goal? And some will come back and tell me, I want more money in the bank. And I'm like, okay, well, we all want more money in the bank. What does that mean to you? Well, it means I can take vacation with my family. It means I can take time away from here. It means I can buy it's right? It's the things.
Yep.
And so
Lake house for my family to come to, spend more time with my kids before they go to college.
absolutely.
What are your real life goals? Start there.
Right.
And then reverse engineer it. That's, and it's not,
work
AI
backwards.
allows you to do that like crazy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. It's amazing. I mean, so it's, no matter what it comes down to more money. And so for me to get you more money for however you're going to use that, whether that's time off or to buy something, whatever it is, you need more money. And for me to do that, we either need to increase revenue or decrease expenses. I mean, that it's one of the two things. And so, AI frees up staffing, right? Right. Yeah. The things I forgot to do. I forgot to make more money.
I'll get there.
Someday.
We'll get there.
Right. But then there's also, I have the people who are really good at making money and really good about controlling expenses, but then they see this, ooh, I have, $100,000 in my bank account and then blow it on crazy stuff. And if that's what they really want, that's my goal is to support whatever you want. But, I like sustainability and I'm not talking that you have to be frugal and drive a 20-year-old car, but, I'm happy when people can go out and buy a Lambo and all that.
Do you have
Even
clients
more
with Lambos?
I do not have clients. At least I don't think I have clients with Lambos, but I have neighbors who have Lambos.
That's a certain level of good for them. I'll never forget Ben Margera destroying his Lambo on deck.
Like,
That was one of those things that was like, okay, that's a level of money I have never encountered, right?
No.
At least when I originally saw it.
Right.
No, that's cool. So okay. Moving on from that and taking it to the next level, if you will.
Yes.
let's say you have a firm owner coming to you. Let's say I'm coming to you and say, Kelley, I want to increase my profitability by 20% because I have goals X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
I want to send my daughter to, overseas for college or whatever.
Right.
And, I want to make smart moves in my business that makes this happenstance, not something I have to save for 10 years. I want this to be a byproduct of what I'm doing.
Right.
So
Right.
my goal, and you and I, through talking with you and I determined, and my goal is to increase my law firm revenue by 20%, but I'm not willing to add another asshole lawyer or
Okay.
whatever.
Right.
Where would you start financially? What's the game plan that comes from where you start?
So two things. So, it's going to come back to, we have to increase revenue or decrease expenses. So the easier of those two things for me is to go through your expenses. So first I would go through your last 12 months of expenses and start to question you. Do you need 20 AI tools that you're paying?
Yes, I fucking do. I absolutely do. Move
Yeah,
on.
that was a targeted question or targeted response. I would go through and I would group. So when you see your P&L, normally you're looking at X dollars telephone expense X, rent X, you look at it that by category. I don't do it by category. I look at it by vendor. And so you start looking at it, and I look at it a couple different ways. I go through one pass and say, do you even use this anymore? like,
Ooh, or cold out. Love it. Let's go. Let's keep going.
I mean, the first pass is just, do you even use this anymore? I mean, do you have Acuity and Calendly to schedule appointments? Why do you need both? And sometimes it's a valid reason.
Yes.
Sometimes there really is a valid reason, but do you need both? Just make, and if somebody says, well, one does something better, okay, get rid of the other one. Like, why do you need two?
Oh, you just
Save the money.
And that's the trap I fall into. It's like, hey, this does this specific function so much better. I don't want to have to do that of a day. Well, you're paying all this and now you've got to make that money back from your revenue. It still doesn't make sense, brother. Right?
Right.
Like,
right.
Fire one, right? Choose one, fire one, develop the gap to be able to catch up. Yeah.
Right. But so then I'll go through it and say, okay, we narrowed down, you got rid of these vendors. We're not doing those anymore. Cancel subscriptions, not renewing, whatever. Then you go through the short list of what's left and you're like, okay, let's talk about, Thomson Reuters, your Westlaw. Do you have the right amount of seats? Did you, at some point, maybe you had a staff person and you had to bump up to the next tier, they left and you forgot to cancel their seat. And now you're still paying for them to be on Westlaw. And it's not being, it does happen. Yeah. It's not so much on Westlaw because that's so expensive, but I will see it on like case management systems.
Yeah.
I'll log in and I'll look at who's there. And I'm like, didn't you tell me this person's gone? And they're like, yeah, but you're still paying $50 a month for them.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. You're still paying, which, okay, $50 in 1 month isn't a big deal, but 50 over 12 months. And then maybe that's a year, 2 years, 3 years, like that. It just adds up. And
my goal, giving money for nothing. You have no ROI. None.
Exactly.
Every dollar you deploy should get you back something.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So it's just stuff like that. People forget, or I'll see, a lot of times I'll see where multiple people in the office sign up for Adobe. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If instead of signing up for the individual Adobes, if you would have done one business plan, you could have gotten 3 seats for half of what you're paying for the individual stuff. So it's stuff like that. But because nobody sees it, nobody's looking at it the same way. Everybody has a different perspective. And so it's just stuff like that. And so what we do, I try to get down, my goal when I do this the first time is to find you 10% of your revenue in expenses that was wasted, that we can. So think about 10%. That's $10,000
for you. And I feel like it's so easily achievable because we're not tied into that. I'm not looking at my bank account every month. My bookkeeper is, my financial person is.
Exactly.
But
Yeah, the first time I do
I,
it, it's usually, I can usually hit 10% the first time I do it. If a firm's never done it before, I can usually hit that, and that's pretty big.
oh,
So
yeah, kidding me?
originally
I love 10% back. Let's go.
right, exactly. I'm used to you. So that's like the first thing. Another thing I would want to look at. So I'm no longer a certified Profit First professional, but there's a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz, and it's just about cash management. And some of the theories that I like about it, he talks about create a bank account and put money in all the time. Every week, put money in. So put aside for your taxes, set aside money for your compensation as the owner. So the next part would be making sure. So if we've already, like, we've got managed, expenses are managed, that's under control. The next step, I want to make sure you're putting away money for your taxes, because what I don't want to see happen is you get to where taxes are due. Your accountant says, "Hey, returns prepared, and congrats, you had this amazing year," and you're like, "I did." They're like, "Yeah, you owe 30 grand." You're like, "Oh, holy shit." Now you've either got to borrow money or set up a payment plan with the IRS. That's creating an additional, now you're going to pay interest on that. Cause even if you make a payment plan with the IRS, interest accrues until you have that whole thing paid off. And
Yeah,
so I
they're
want to
gonna
make
get you
sure,
one way or
yeah,
another.
they're going to get you, right? Well, because you're borrowing. So it makes sense that they charge you interest.
Yep.
And I want to make sure to prevent that from happening, because I want to save you that interest. If I can have you put the money aside now and you don't spend it on something, then you have it for the taxes, and that's going to save you from borrowing, whether it's from the IRS or somebody else. So, so we look at that, and then it's okay. Now, what do we do with revenue? And, is there, how are you doing your marketing? Is there ROI on your marketing? Are there campaigns? Now, I'm not a marketing person, so I'm not going to, proclaim, oh, that's a bad campaign and that's a great campaign. But
But
I
you
want to
analyze the
question,
data.
exactly. I'm going to question where are your leads coming from? You're spending 10 grand a month on Google, but yet every person that calls your office says that, their best friend down the street referred them. So why are you spending 10 grand on Google if you don't get any leads from there? So
Damn right.
I will question,
Damn right.
and then kick it off and say, go talk to your marketing person, or your, whoever that is. But I will help you interpret the numbers to figure out, is it even worth what you're spending? Right. Um, and then, give you a mission that you have to go to your marketing person and do better with the marketing ads to increase. And then we want to talk about staffing. If you have somebody employed full time, you have, one attorney working for you, and, what's his production or her production? What, how much are
How
they,
do you
how
measure
many,
that?
exactly. How are you measuring it?
Yeah.
Because every firm's a little different, which is fine. Because if you're hourly, you're probably doing it based on billable hours. And which then sucks if you're writing down their hours, because now, like, you're judging against a bad metric. But I would rather look at the hours, total hours worked, and then splitting that between billable and non-billable, because, they definitely need to be billing more than not billing if you have a staff person, an
Right.
associate. But I also want to look at it and say, you know, however, whether, because like contingent is different. So if you have a PI practice, you
It's
kind of
always
have a
different.
limit on cases. It's a whole different animal.
Yeah.
But
It is.
I still want to go back and say, regardless of how you bill or what your practice area is, I want to make sure that whoever works for you, if they're a billable person, okay, so if you have an associate and they're billable, I want to make sure that they're bringing in at least 3 times the amount of money revenue wise than what they
That's the
cost you.
metric. Really?
3.
So if
Yes.
I'm paying them, and let's just put this into real numbers. If I'm paying them, for me to hire someone to the level I want them to perform at, I'm looking at 125 to 150. That's probably conservative per
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
right? So they need to be generating
Yes.
450
Yeah.
minimum for my firm. Those
Yes.
are the metrics. That's it.
Yeah.
Right.
3 times. Yes. Because, and then think about, so what's happening is 3 times, because we want to make sure that they're going to contribute to overhead. So, I mean, obviously they have to pay for themselves. So it's 3
That's
times, because of that,
33%. Right.
right. Because a third is going to pay their what they
Their
cost you.
salary.
Okay. And then a third's going to contribute towards your overhead. They somehow have to be contributing towards your rent. If you have a receptionist, malpractice insurance, all those things, they've got to kick in for that. And then a third, I want to go to you as the owner. You need to make a profit. And that's how you make a profit. Like they've got to be
Thank
billing
you.
more.
I agree. That's certainly
Right.
the profit. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So, so you've got to be able to make a profit. So, I mean, there's a lot of puzzle pieces. And I think where a lot of people get lost is that there's way too many puzzle pieces and you don't have the picture on the box. So you're trying to put together this picture and it's like the sky or everything's, clouds and blue sky. And you're like, I don't even know what the picture is. I can't figure it out. It's all the same color. That's the hard part of running a business.
You bring up such an amazing point here. You bring up such an amazing point. If your team does not know what success in their position looks like, you are going to fail.
Yeah.
And that is one of the main things. And, I do AI specifically consulting. So when I
Mhm.
come in with AI, it's, hey, let's diagnose where you're at, where you're trying to go. How can I bridge AI to get you from point A to point B? A
Yeah.
lot of times the answer is, hey, you are not using your people in a way that makes sense. Right. And so
Right.
that's where firms get into this. Well, I can fire all these people and replace them with AI. Well, yeah, you can, but you're not replacing them with AI. You're
Right.
replacing them because they were inefficient and they weren't up to par. Right.
Right.
And, or you didn't have a good enough system, whatever the combination of those factors is, AI really only elevates. Right.
Yeah.
So for someone like a solo, can it replace the paralegal?
Yeah.
I guess I can try and make that argument, but at the end of the day,
Right.
it's not another person working on my behalf.
Right.
Right. So I'd rather train really solid people to utilize AI to up level their function
Right.
much higher.
Agreed.
That to me is going to achieve a greater ROI over the course of
Yeah.
a 5 to 10 year period. Right. Um,
Absolutely.
and again, we're in the empathy of AI. So, hey, in 8 years, I might look back on this podcast and say, oh, you dumb MFer, right? But at
Right.
the same time, right now, like
Which,
that really is where it is. AI is not good enough to be able to
yeah.
replace the lawyer. It's not good enough to argue for you in court, even despite some of the very cool endeavors some cool companies out there have
Right.
taken and tried to do something. It's not there yet. So given the technology that you're required under the ABA to understand, at least, not necessarily have
Yeah.
to deploy, but you at least have to, and as a minimum, from a lawyer's perspective, you should be able to either tell your clients why you're using AI and then have them sign off, or you should tell them why you're not. If you can't
Right.
do that succinctly in 30 to
Yeah.
60 seconds, you are not living up to the what the ABA requires, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
So
agree. And I like the part about the telling them why you're not using it. And
yeah,
I
with
mean,
the
I'm sitting
time,
here
by the way,
going,
it's valid if you say it's not going to work,
right.
but you need to
Right.
be able to explain it.
Right. I mean, because if I had to hire an attorney for something and they say, well, we just don't use AI. And then I'm sitting here thinking, I'm paying you by the hour. I want you to do
Mhm.
things faster. Like, I don't want to pay extra if I don't like, I feel that's a tax that I'm paying, for you not wanting to adopt technology. And, of course, pushback is generally, well, this is all it's work. How I've done it's always worked. And I'm like, okay, but
God bless you,
I,
brother. God bless you,
I don't
sister. Yep. Good luck.
great. Oh, yeah, I don't know. That's all interesting. So yeah, absolutely.
All right. I have so many more questions. I'm literally skipping over 7 questions to get to this final one.
Well, you know that we'll do another podcast episode.
100%. Can't wait. I'm going to schedule it right after this. Um,
Okay.
and this is a little bit of a curveball. So, my apologies,
Okay.
bro. So I'm not sorry at all.
Bro, I'll get in
Um,
the batters. I'm ready. I'm ready.
let's
Put
go.
me in coach. Ready.
Here comes the pitch. Do
Okay.
you think the next generation of successful authors will look more like technology companies than traditional partnerships?
Well, that's a great one. That is a great one. So as much as I love AI, I stand by professional services are not going away. Like doctors, lawyers, accountants, we're not going anywhere. But I do think things will be different. And I'll tell you, I mean, my kid was sick last week. We went to the local children's hospital to the urgent care, and they want to push you into their app. They're trying to do everything with least amount of people. And the girl made me feel dumb because you could log in to the app, you can get on the wait list, but to get on the wait list, you have to pick a time. Well, from their standpoint at the urgent care, that was an appointment. So we go in and
Yeah.
in the message on the app said, you've been added to the wait list, head now to the urgent care. So we get there and I go to check in and she's like, well, you made an appointment. You're here an hour early. And so now there's this disconnect. So that's where I don't see AI replacing people. And so firms of the future will still need people, no matter how you slice this.
No question. I agree.
I mean, I know my kids resist AI.
Really? That's interesting.
Nothing to do with it. Now they're on
How
their
old
phones
are your
all
kids again?
14 and 17.
And they don't
And
use AI to rate their papers or any shit like that.
no,
No.
no,
Now is
because I'll
that
even
rule
joke
in your
around.
family? Because you're
Not a
not
rule.
allowing them?
Nope.
Not a rule.
I
Okay.
encourage them. I'm like, hey, so they'll come to me and say, hey, I need to pick a topic. My oldest, she's a senior in high school. She need to pick some topic. And she's so damn smart. Like I thought I was smart and she blows me away. Both of my kids are much more smarter than me. And
My kids
it's
feel
something
dumb
like,
too. I do. Yes, I do.
oh my God.
Hear you.
She's taking like advanced biology or something. And she's like, I have to write this paper. I'm like, well, what are your topics? Right. And she goes, she rattles off, well, it has to be blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay, I do not know one word that just came out of your mouth
Mhm. Yep.
in the last few
Let
seconds.
me AI it real quick. Give me a second.
I'm like, well, here's two things. I'm either going to go to AI and ask chat what you just said, or, did you ask AI, just go ask chat, what would be some good topics to talk about? And she's like, absolutely not. And she went into a whole, it was the worst thing ever. Yeah. Yeah.
Really?
Don't, yeah.
Why? What was her? Can you compartmentalize your thesis for us?
It is, well, because it is it's killing brain cells. If you're not using brain cells, they die.
Okay. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. I agree.
Um,
I agree.
to go back to the original question, so no matter what, I think AI is just a tool. I mean, think about, and I'm a couple years older than you, but fax machines. We're going to eliminate, fax machines it was going to be this amazing thing. And then a couple years later, there's email, and email was going to decimate the postal service. There was going to be no more need for the US Postal Service. Are you kidding me? I get more junk mail in my mailbox now than I ever have. So, we have technology, but then everything just adapts to it. But no matter what tools we put into our firms, there's still going to be people. Our firms are still, so any professional services are still, I mean, think about it. I mean, even
You're
personal
serving
services.
people at the end of the day.
Right.
You're serving-
Right. Personal service.
Right.
You're not going to get a haircut from a robot. Like
Maybe
so
maybe one day. Don't
Jetson.
maybe one day.
But I mean, I think firms in the future, I think the firms that are going to survive in like the next probably 10 to 20 years are going to be the ones that adopt technology. At some level, there has to be tech. If you're still trying to manage your pieces on an Excel spreadsheet or a notebook, I mean, I've talked to people, and I'm talking in like the last 5 years, I have talked to people who will keep track of their trust account in a notebook. And I'm like, what? A notebook. And I'm like, are you talking like OneNote notebook? And they're like, no, a notebook, like spiral bound.
Oh wow. Good for them.
Yeah.
God bless you.
I'm like,
That's what I say to people like that. God bless you. Good
I'm
for
like,
you.
But there's a better way. There's just a better way. And I mean, I can remember even, 15 years ago, everybody was apprehensive about going to the cloud. And I was too. I had a huge ass server. This thing probably weighed 100 pounds. I mean, I had a whole closet that was just one server on a rack. And, because it was that fear. And then, but then as cloud, I started getting to where it's like, well, wait a minute, okay, there's going to be a risk in anything we do. I have a server, but somebody could break into my office and they can steal the server. So, okay, that's probably less likely that somebody from a foreign country is going to come and steal my server that's physical, but there's still a risk. There's never been a time that there's been no risk in business.
Right.
There's always been but it's trying to acknowledge what risks there are and doing everything you can to manage those risks. So I do think the firms of the future, I think there will be more firms that will be, dare I say, bigger firms, they will be like higher revenue, higher operating, handling higher client loads, probably with less people. So I do see that happening, but that's a good thing. And, but because you want to make sure you have qualified and competent people working for you. But tools just make things easier. I mean, go back to, I don't know if you ever watched NCIS. Gibbs always did his boat where he would sand by hand.
Yeah, it's
I would,
listening.
I know, but if I were making a boat and my dad was like, his hobby was carpentry when I was little. If I had to sand something by hand, oh, screw that. I want the sander. I can slap the new pad on and just start, plug it in. But because you can do it faster. Like it didn't take me any different, I'm still doing the work. I'm just doing it faster. That's what I see
Yeah.
AI, but the firms that survive in the future are going to be the ones that adopt some type of technology. I mean, because we're going to hit a point where, I mean, you and I both know in our professions, people can work until they die. I mean, if they choose to. I hope I'm not one of
Lots
those
of them
people.
do. Lots of
But
them do.
yeah, I mean, I've known people. Well, I know somebody locally. He just passed away. I think he was 94, 95 years old. He still had one client, an attorney, but he needed that purpose to get up and get out, like go do his thing, which is fine. And I'm not saying that's bad, but you get to a point where you pass and like there's a new generation coming up, right?
Yeah.
So, but I just feel like tools are the way. I mean, AI is a tool, case management is a tool. Do the things you can, it's all about doing things easier and faster. So the faster you can do it, it's the better for you and better for the client. And really, so that's how I hope to see the future of firms. So
Well, and you hit on a couple of really solid points. Number one, you hire a tool to get a job to be done, right?
yeah.
So if you start with your job to be done and you're very clear on that, that's how AI is best implemented anyway,
Right,
right?
right,
So if you start with just, hey, I'm going to hire this AI tool, whatever it is, all the great AI tools, specifically legally leaning, Queryus, Paxton, Iris, formerly Akitas, um, you know, and I think Lexus's protege and then co-counsel from Thomson Reuters. All of these are great. Yeah, let's add them to our arsenal. You have all the ammo in the world, but if you can't shoot it downstream and you can't figure out how to actually monetize it, it really doesn't, it's another shiny tool, right? Think big for
right,
practice management. Some
right.
people, I know wildly successful law firms that gross 5 million a year that
Yeah,
send out their invoices on Microsoft Word. And
right,
while I know that gives you and me an aneurysm, right? They kill it,
right,
absolutely kill it. And
right,
good for them, right? So
right,
it's how everything fits into your system, and it's
right.
how you attach these workflows to be able to create the value that creates your profit. That's, I mean, the baseline of business and applying business. And I think too, that's such an opportunity for lawyers, especially to be able
Yeah,
to say, hey, let me create a business partner out of AI. Let me
right,
have ChatGPT or Claude or whatever I use, whatever it is, Copilot,
right,
whatever.
right.
Hey, be my brainstorm partner. Fill in my gaps. Where am
Yeah,
I? Like treat it like a business therapist, consult,
yeah,
whatever it is. Now there's still a ton of value, and I can tell you personally, I've used all the AIs, but I
yeah.
can personally still talking to a human who's lived in the real world, who's seen revenue come
Mm.
through, who can analyze it differently. That's a different type of input that
Right,
absolutely adds value that AI is not capable of. So again, the for all the people saying, "Hey, AI is going to be completely subcutaneous and going to run our lives by 2030," no, that's not going to happen.
I
Especially
agree.
show me the judge that says, "Oh yeah, I'll have an AI lawyer argue in my court." You're just not going to, right?
Right, right. No, I agree. But I mean, think about the things that make life easier. Like yesterday, our school, so my PTA that I'm still an officer in, we had a fundraiser night with Dewey's Pizza, a local pizza place. And I was afraid it was going to be packed because like we heavily promoted it. And so I'm like, oh, I wonder, I was looking at their hours and I just happened to see, oh, I can make a reservation online. It took me 2 seconds. Literally, it was click to make a reservation, click a time, and then I like my name and number popped in, and that was it. And I hit submit, and all of a sudden, I'd had a reservation. Now, had I had to call them, I'd have to look up their phone number. I'd have to dial the phone, wait for them to answer. And this was maybe 10 o'clock in the morning where they probably weren't even there yet. And and then I would have to leave a message or not, and then call them back. And like it would have just taken so much longer. So I mean, there's tools, and that's why they're there to make things easier. And so now they didn't have to have somebody there to answer the phone. And I just click, 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 and it's done. And it, then we had a reservation and we walked
You're
in last night.
solidified.
Yeah.
Yep.
So technology, I like technology. I mean, I am sad with like hallucinations, but it has to learn. Like somehow, I mean, that's the whole point. It's an LLM. It learns. So, and I will tell it. I will tell. So when Chat GPT gives me back and says, and I say, "Oh, wait a minute, you hallucinated." I actually went into my profile and said, "Do not hallucinate. I will verify everything you say. Everything you tell me is not your opinion. It has to be a fact, and you have to give me the link of where it came from." And so now any response it gives back to me, it'll come back and say, here. So if I'm doing my research for Fraud Friday, and it'll come back and say, here's 5 names of cases that have involved fraud in a law firm. And then it'll say, here was the case name. This is the jurisdiction. Usually it's a DOJ press release, and it'll link right to it. And then I can go to it and I validate that it's, I'm like, oh, okay, that's legit. It's the DOJ website. And I
Real
can, yeah,
holding, right?
exactly. I can go and I can validate. And I'll say, what was the jurisdiction? So I can even go back to because nowadays it depends on the case and the jurisdiction, but, in a lot of times I'm just going to Pacer and grab what I can there. But I do what I can to validate what I can. So, I mean, again, it's a tool. I mean, but just
Yep.
think about, like my sander example. So if I have a sander, well, at some point it's going to stop functioning because either, I pulled the cord out of the wall, or if it's cordless, the battery died. So I've got to like figure that out. Or the actual sandpaper, you've got to replace that. So it's just a tool, and it's going to make
You have to
mistakes. I
set up
mean,
correctly, and
you
then
have
you
to set it
configure
correct.
correctly. You got to put the sandpaper on the sander,
Right.
right?
Right.
Same
The
thing. You
right
got to
way.
control your settings for AI, right? It's a really good analogy. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I appreciate
Mm.
learning from you always. I appreciate the wisdom and the financial acumen coming through. No
Thank
question. Us solos, especially, and not to mention the bigger firms out here who use it. And also just to take a minute to look at the forest through the trees and say, hey, what does the big picture look like? What am I actually trying to build on a holistic level? And
Right.
what kind of life am I trying to build for myself while I'm serving my community and while I'm serving my client base? That's something that doesn't get talked about enough in the
Yeah.
legal field that I feel like deserves some more attention. So I appreciate you taking it through that lens throughout this. Also, thank you for letting me interview you. That was fun. I would love to do this again. I
Oh my
have
God. We're doing
immediately right now 3 to 5
right.
more questions. No question.
Right.
Right
Right.
away. Right away.
No, I definitely, you have an open invitation. You're a friend of the show, friend of mine. You can come on
Appreciate you.
anytime. No, this was a great, I'm totally game. This was a good episode. I think people will take a lot away from it.
I hope so.
I mean,
Please
I
leave the
really appreciate
comments. Challenge us.
yeah,
Like, come on,
right,
come.
right.
I'll
I mean,
respond. I promise. I will.
I will too. I mean, I appreciate talking to you. I always learn new things. I mean, I'm now encouraged. I'm gonna have to go and pay for Claude, and I'm gonna have to get him to go in
Okay.
and use my file names and organize my download folder.
You're gonna have the Claude Covert for the win. By the way, next episode we might do an episode just on Claude Covert. It's the
Right,
truth. I'm
right.
just saying, it's got to fit in your ecosystem. Don't just trust it with everything. But if you build the right ecosystem, Claude Covert is,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well,
No,
thank you so much, Josh. I've had so much fun.
appreciate you, Kelly.
It's been a great, great hour. If you are listening to this podcast episode and you're thinking, I know I need to understand my numbers in my law firm better, but I'm just not ready for CFO support. That's exactly why I created a program called Profit Strong 90. Now, Profit Strong 90 is a structured 90-day course designed specifically for law firm owners who want financial clarity without the overwhelm. So, inside this course, you're going to learn how to understand your profit and loss without feeling intimidated, identify where profit is leaking from your firm, improve cash flow predictability, build financial habits that support long term growth, and make better decisions using real data instead of gut instincts. Now, this isn't theory, it is practical step by step guidance built around how law firms actually operate. If you want to feel more confident looking at your numbers, if you want to stop guessing, and if you want to build a stronger financial foundation for your law firm, I can't make this any better of an offer. It's free. Click the link in the show notes below to join Profit Strong 90. This is where clarity starts for you.